reporting to the bridge, Tim. If we were thrown into the jungle alone, naked, if this, I don't know,
moving to Coop.
It's definitely the British.
We are an empire of sorts, right?
I was a big fan of Al Jazeera, getting my Middle East news, because I would read a lot of American propaganda, and then I'd go and read Al Jazeera and see like, oh, there's a lot more going on than what I'm getting fed.
We're born in what will be called a modern dark age. 250 million people died, were slaughtered in the 20th century.
What are you going to do if you have 7,000 people and they all have a vicious virus that's mutating and making them bleed from their eyes?
Ian.
Yes, Tim.
Do you think vaccines are good things?
Well, I mean, a vaccine done right.
Do you think that people should have the choice to make medical decisions for themselves?
Often, there are situations where emergencies may require.
Yes or no? Should people have the right to choose medical decisions about what they do with their body?
Sometimes.
So the answer is no. You think it's
rights are given,
basically, it doesn't matter.
So people should. You're saying people should not have the choice.
I think that in a free society, but if you're under martial lockdown and like cholera breaks out and you're able to vaccinate all the people,
right. It's simple.
Then you kind of got to do it without asking.
Absolutely, it's really simple. Ian, you're an authoritarian.
No, because you're a baby with no abilities. Yeah. Sometimes.
Hold on. Like the challenge with you, Ian, is you can't just.
You're trying to get a black and a white answer, man. That's just not the way things work.
Test. Bring that mic up. Bring that microphone and sound up.
Yeah, but Tim, I think you're setting it up. It's like asking someone, is food a good thing or not? Tell me, is food good or not? Yeah, it is good. Oh, so you favor obesity? No, I'm not. I don't favor obesity. Oh, so you want people to die from hunger?
My problem with globalization is we had a guest on that actually made this point, I think, or you did about someone else that said it, is that it's inevitable. It's going to happen regardless.
It is.
How is it going to happen?
Factually not inevitable.
At the rate we're going, the expansion and interlocktivity of human interaction.
Love it.
Big brain.
Awesome.
I think that it might be inevitable, but how it's going to happen is variable. So there's been a pushback against political globalization. People don't want that. People don't want that in the U.S., the internet. People are terrified of a one world government. So they're going the economic route. They're trying
It's more cultural. It's cultural, like with the movies and the music and the film and the genes and the whiteness and all the things.
Under God and on the Constitution, your rights are from God. I'm like, that's just.
Why are you weirded out by it? It's literally in the Declaration of Independence upon which this government was founded.
Because I think, we talked about this before. I wish you were here when we had the first time. That our rights are we just earned them through warfare. We took them by force.
No, they're given to you by God.
That's what some magic thing they wrote in there to be like, and if anyone ever messes with you, just say you can never. And it's like, no, this didn't exist before. You created it.
What do you mean
this idea of American freedom?
We talked about this. You don't understand what right means. The government infringing upon your rights doesn't mean you don't have rights. It means the government is infringing upon them.
Yeah, I think the idea that you have a right to anything in this reality is absurd.
Are you born with the right to defend yourself?
I mean, I'm born with the ability. Technically, every country is different. Every ethical form
so we're
has
back
a different
to our
set of
original
rights.
discussion, which is that monotheistic gods gave us natural law and natural rights, which gave us the United States of America. That's why it's not universally applicable, because there's other countries around the world and other places, other people that don't have the same perception of God and don't have the same perception of light.
It's really simple. Again, Ian, you're confusing infringement with existence of rights.
Please clarify that, please.
You're arguing that because someone with power would suppress your rights don't exist. That's not true.
No.
If you're captured in war,
okay,
you can physically defend yourself from your captors, even though they will beat you and try and stop you.
Yeah.
And they will tie your hands behind your back and continue beating you, and you can still resist.
Yeah.
You have a right.
No, you have the ability to do it. It doesn't give you the right. That doesn't exist in a POW camp.
Yes, it literally does.
There are no rights in a POW camp.
Yes, there are.
You're just there.
You don't
beaten.
understand what a right is. You're confusing infringement.
If you're like, you're violating my human right, my basic human, they're like, what? Who is this? What is this thing? And they're beating you with a cane.
So again, you're talking about the infringement of rights versus the existence of rights.
But they don't understand that person it doesn't exist to them. So it's like for you to say, because I believe it is real for you too, even though you don't understand it.
Now, if you attack the soldier keeping you there, will he defend himself?
Likely.
But he has no right to do that.
No, but he has the ability to, and probably should, to preserve his own skin.
Of course he has the right to defend himself.
He has the, now we're just
You
talking
don't
about
know
rights
what
and
a right
abilities.
is.
I'm talking rights are legal things.
Ian, you do this all the time. You make semantic
you just
arguments.
said that rights are legal things.
No,
rights are
natural,
legal, social, or
rights.
ethical assumptions.
Natural
basically.
rights come from natural law, which comes from God.
Ian, you do this a lot when you lose an argument. You make a semantic change to the argument.
I don't think there's going to be a winner or loser to this. We're just talking about it.
But rights literally do exist. There's like the golden rule.
And
There's certain rules that transcend all
yeah,
civilizations.
but that doesn't
like,
always. The golden rule only works in certain types
Like-
of civilizations.
like
So
I think put it.
And so then the Americans were like, okay, let's make a government out of that and tell everyone these are like uncorruptible parts of you. And that's, if we believe that, then they become it. But only because the government by gun force is commanding that, is that able to exist.
If you're in the middle of the woods
No.
and you're buck naked, you can
Opposite.
speak freely, you can move freely, you can defend yourself.
No one can stop you.
Yeah, but there's no law though. There's no,
What does that do
there's
with
no
anything?
rights in the
Bro,
in the,
the
middle
law
of the jungle.
is to restrict the government, not people. How many times do we have to say that?
You mean
that I don't think people innately have any right to anything. We were fortunate to be born into a society where we
So you're
believe
just
we
a
do.
total will to power guy.
I mean,
That's
if
it.
we were thrown into the jungle alone, naked, what the hell? There is no natural right. It is.
What are you talking about? We just can-
survive.
Yeah, so you can defend yourself from predators. You can
Yeah,
say whatever
not because
you
I
want.
have a
you can
right to
move
it. It's because
freely.
what the hell? I'm doing it. Like
in order to exist as a human being, you have to defend yourself. That's what we're talking about. bro.
If
we're
you
talking about
don't,
laws and
if
rights,
you
I'm
don't
talking-
think the right exists, that means you would just lay down whenever threatened.
no, the law, calling it a law and saying it's like
Who said law?
You just said if you don't think the law exists.
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
just-
I'm
you
sorry.
just-
I'm
you
sorry.
just-
Right?
No, that's so circuitous. A natural
Because-
entitlement to try
because
to survive.
this is what you do,
What are you
Ian.
talking about? A
When-
natural
when-
entitlement to try to survive. No, I feel like a snow cone. You have a
Because you don't know what the words
you have to
mean,
try to survive.
because
That's it. You're not entitled to it.
Good
you
to
just
see some things never change
right,
around here.
nothing's changed yet.
I said that the idea that God gives you basic intrinsic rights is idiot. It's fantasy, and that's why people are erupting against it right now.
because you don't know what the word means.
A right. It's a
A fundamental natural rights, a fundamental, naturally occurring entitlement intrinsic within life.
This is something you just created. This is the
I
definition.
literally just read it to
But
you.
you just said that it had to do with ethics and some. You said
It
the word
was- it-
ethics
it
in
said,
your definition.
It said rights exist very prominently within legal and ethical theories.
And another one, ethical,
And the
social,
point
and,
is-
and legal theories. I think.
This is
Let's
some
go
of
to
the
Super
best
Chats.
whiskey I have ever had
I'm
in
glad
my
you're
entire life.
enjoying
Can I
it.
put this on the camera? Are we allowed
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do
we
that?
should.
Look at this. This
Ohishi
rice,
rice.
Ohishi rice whiskey.
Smooth.
This is some of the best stuff I've ever had. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I love it.
Tim actually found these at the store and,
Amazing.
and just felt compelled to dress me up.
Okay, what was your question again?
If you're standing in the middle of the woods and a guy's running at you screaming with a stick, would you go, I have no right to
No, I would
defend myself?
jujitsu his ass. What is this right? What does it even mean? What?
So again, not a medical doctor, but
I want to make a point to wrap up what Ian said.
Us and them. I've noticed when I have conversations here and in general, I talk about them like they are the Biden crew or whatever, the deep state, whatever they. I'm feeding this. And if I keep talking, lazily acting like that, they're going to keep acting like, see, I just did it again. They. There is no they. It's us. We are humans on Earth.
There's only one thing you need to understand to understand, so you know that this is just not correct. Go tell the Taliban what you just said. Go walk up to them outside of the airport in Kabul and say,
Big brain.
we're all in this together. There's no us and them, and see how they treat you.
Well, sometimes it works.
No,
I've been in
come on,
situations where I don't even speak the language, but as long as you vibe with them, you are one of them.
You're going to vibe with the Taliban?
I don't know. You could.
They're walking around with guns. They're beating people in the streets.
That's kind of a fantasy because I don't know them. I've never seen a person that identifies as Taliban.
I have.
All I've seen is propaganda. I wanna highlight the Crown's interactivity
You
with.
love this, don't
I
you?
do
This is,
because
like, your favorite
people
thing.
are like, Ian, you moron. The Queen has nothing, no power. It's all ceremonial.
I mean-
yes.
so
But it is symbolic for right now because she never does.
Like anything that happens in that country is because the Queen wants it to happen that way. In the United States, there's no suffering. I have to induce it on myself. Psychedelics make you suffer.
correct.
The British seem to have a civilian leader and a military leader that co-run the country together. I think they have the prime minister and then something else. What's his name? Winston Churchill was the military head of the time,
Ian,
but he wasn't the.
they have a House of Lords.
yeah.
It's pretty messed up, but they have somebody running the domestic area and then someone that knows what they're doing running the military stuff.
So anyway, The country wants to break apart.
No, I disagree. I don't know where you're getting that info
I
from.
think
but that actually comes from a poll. The Daily Mail posted it, where they only polled 2,012 people,
Ian, you don't
and then they
understand
extrapolated 2,012 people to the entire United States. And the headline is "America Thinks the Unthinkable." More than half of Trump voters want red and blue states to secede. They only polled 2,000 people.
Let's slow down for a second.
1,000 Trump voters.
Let's slow down for a second. That's actually a pretty large sample size.
2,012 people out of 350 million? Yeah, I wasn't polled, which was the worst part.
Yes.
That's not large.
It is.
It's a large sample size for a poll, maybe.
Yes,
but it's
it
a
is.
terrible way to frame
Just because
a
you
2,000 person poll
Listen.
that more than half of the Trump voters want.
All right. So I'm explaining to you, as much as I'm not a fan of a lot of these polls and don't trust them, standards for polling, that's actually a
Well, they're
decent
crap
number.
standards. And we got to talk about now.
just
You can have a
Ian.
poll that's disingenuous, and you can have a poll that's misframed. And this has been
Absolutely.
misframed.
Well, I don't think it's misframed.
It says that more than half of the Trump voters want it, and they only polled 1,000 of them.
That's how polls work.
They made a claim about 80 million people based off of a poll of 1,000 people.
I understand your argument, but there's no point in continuing if you don't know how the polls. I don't know how you solve for that problem. People are allowed to be passionate and fight for what they believe in.
I think it's a balance of too much talking about problems creates more problems. Not enough talking about problems creates more problems because they're not being addressed. So you want to address them and then solve them and then not address them anymore, unless they're still a problem and the solution didn't work, and then you got to readdress them and address a new solution.
Right
but
up the equation.
A problem without a solution is basically lighting yourself on fire.
God, cows are so cute. They'll cuddle you. Did you know
they'll
that?
put your finger in their mouth and they'll
They
suck
have
on it.
best friends.
That is so
That's a little random.
Apparently it feels good. I've never done it.
What?
Someone told me that.
How
I'm
does
a
that come
vessel
up?
of knowledge.
How does that come up
doing
in
to
conversation?
I like cows too, basically is what I'm saying.
But
Yeah, we know. We know.
is it just fingers? Is it just fingers?
Of course.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
yes.
All right. I was just asking. No, but it's funny because Kez, I guess they don't know that's my wife, but Kez actually said the same thing. People are like, how did she just leave Australia
about
so
cows,
easily?
sticking your finger in a cow's mouth.
She was like, no. Wow, that's gonna start calling instead of the storks brought the baby. It was like, how are babies made? You stick your finger in a cow's mouth, and then it
my
just
God.
come out.
Sucks on your finger.
No, but I was gonna say
Ian,
that.
you're on the internet too much.
Yeah, I'm like,
Everything I said was true.
But it is a bit different, in Sweden.
Yeah, going back to the Roman Empire, basically part of the downfall of that was all the mass migration from the north because the Huns were coming from the east, and it's just spilled over. And then you'd see in desperate times there would be these huge like civilizations would be migrating, and the Romans would go murder them all because they couldn't handle it. It was like, if they come, we lose. So this is a horrible dystopic future that could happen if we don't somehow solve this.
It's happened. It's happened.
Well, we have technology. We have long range communication now.
1.5 million apprehensions this year, not counting the people who
Right.
break through without being caught. It's unprecedented. This is, people say I'm doomer, I'm black-pilled, we shouldn't be, we're going to win. I'm like, you didn't understand something. Freedom may win, but not before the system around us falls apart.